It's now time for our Beyond the Podium segment, joined now by Senator Joe Manchin. He's running for re-election against Attorney General Patrick Morrisey. Senator Manchin.
I'm running to continue to represent the good people of West Virginia. I never run against anybody, and if they want to run against me, God bless them, let them do what they want to do. I just want to continue to support through public service.
Answered like somebody who's been there before a few times. So what's the biggest issue in your mind facing West Virginians now?
Well, we have a couple of big issues. Basically, first of all, you have health care at risk. 800,000 West Virginians have pre-existing condition. Under Patrick Morrisey's lawsuit, that's done away with. They're going to be back in the mercy of the large insurance companies' hands, whether they can even buy insurance or not, whether they're able to sell it to them or whatever. So they're at risk. That's life or death to them. Social Security and Medicare. 60% of West Virginians, the only income they have in retirement is Social Security. He's already voted when he was running for Congress in New Jersey. He voted to privatize it. He wants to get rid of Social Security as we know it. And you've paid for that. It's not an entitlement. You've paid for that. The opiate addiction is absolutely horrendous. I'm fighting for all minors' pensions. We're putting that back in place, and we're fighting basically for the education system that provides the opportunities for the 21st century and the skill sets that are needed. So lots at stake right now, and trying to find some civility. I work across the aisle. I'm the most centrist, the most middle-of-the-road centrist senator in the whole Senate. And you've got to stop this toxic rhetoric that's going on, and now we see the threats and violence and things of that sort. And it starts at the top. All of us in public office, there has to be acceptance and tolerance. You know, we don't have to hate someone because they're on the other side of the party. The only party you should belong to is the American Party. The only branch of that American Party is West Virginia, as far as I'm concerned. We have to work together. You can be a Democrat or Republican and be civil, still like each other, be friends, have differences of opinion, put your thoughts together and work out your problems.
You mentioned the opioid epidemic. What more can be done to help solve that?
Well, first of all, you got to stop all the product coming out of the market. FDA is putting too much products or allowing too much product to come to the market. The DEA is allowing too many pills to come into an area. And on top of that, the doctors have to follow strict guidelines of how they prescribe. You don't need 30 days of Oxycontin for a tooth extraction. You just don't need it. So many of these things. But next of all, you have to have treatment centers. We don't have the treatment centers. We can't even get the money from the companies that did all the harm, and these crazy low settlements are allowing people to walk away with a slap on the wrist. We got a McKesson, a company that makes basically over $500 million a day. That's their sales, $198 billion a year. And they want to let them off with a $35 million fine that did more damage than any of the other products put together could ever do. This is horrible. So you've got to make sure that we have treatment, facilities, education to stop kids from getting addicted.
Let's talk about infrastructure. Not only roads, of course, the road bond in the state of West Virginia was passed last year, but things like broadband internet. How do we help the infrastructure get better?
We have a rural bill. We finally basically contested the FCC and the maps they've had. They're absolutely erroneous. And you have to have broadband connectivity. So we have $4.5 billion in the next 10 years, which is going to go to connectivity for rural broadband. If you live in rural West Virginia, you probably don't have good cell service or good broadband service. These are things that have to be corrected and fixed.
And in terms of health care, you talk a lot about pre-existing conditions. What can be done to help West Virginians be okay with their pre-existing conditions?
After 1,800,000 people in our state, 800,000 have been diagnosed. That's by the Kaiser Foundation, Family Foundation, which is basically the experts as far as in health care in America. And with that, I mean, it could be everything from diabetes to high blood pressure to whether it be heart problems or it could be cancer, all of these things. And people have to have treatment. And they weren't able to even get by insurance before. West Virginia, they used to say, I don't want to be a burden to my family. What they're telling you is they can't put their family in a financial strait to where they could be totally bankrupt and just let the good Lord do whatever he's going to do with me. That's a type of an answer you get in a third world country, not in America. Patrick Morrisey has a lawsuit. Right now, his lawsuit is going to make it unconstitutional, okay? Basically for insurance companies. They're mandated right now. It's against the law for an insurance company to deny you insurance, and they can't jack up the rates. They have to, no matter what your illness may be. He wants to take away and put them back in control. And on Social Security and Medicare, it's awful. Their intentions are to start cutting Social Security and Medicare. They've been open about that. Mitch McConnell's even said it. And that's what we're fighting. So that's really what's on the line for the people that care.
Is the average West Virginian seeing enough benefit from the Trump tax cuts?
Well, the Trump tax cuts basically put us $2 trillion in debt. $2 trillion in debt basically raises everybody's cost of doing business in West Virginia and the country. The people that benefit the most are the people at the high end of the food chain. The wealthiest of the wealthiest of the wealthiest have done extremely well. So when you see the long-term effects, there's been some good from it, but it's short-term. It wasn't even intended for the average working person to get a permanent fix. All the permanent deductions were given to the large corporations. We want to balance that out. But you've got to adjust it. You can't put people upside down. First time in the history of the country that we've ever started with anything about taxes or try to do an adjustment, and at the end of the day we owed more money. That'd be like going home and making adjustments in your family's income because you're out of whack right now and you have to rail in your spending. And at the end of the day, you make all the adjustments. You look at your wife or your spouse and say, guess what, honey? We only owe $100,000 more. What was the use of sitting down and working through it if you're going to owe more money? That's exactly what we did, and it's wrong. We need to fix it.
There's been somewhat of a red wave the last few years in the state of West Virginia. Why should voters stick with you?
Well, it's about the person. It's not about the politics. I mean, when people say, what's your politics? You should say, what's your purpose? I think people can evaluate me being a governor 2-term, being Secretary of State, being in so many public offices. My whole thing is about West Virginia. Everything I do, everything I think, everything I am is about my state of West Virginia and the people that have made this great state. What we've contributed to this great country and who we are, we should be proud. We don't take a back seat to anybody and should not. More veterans per capita, heavy lifting, working, mining the coal, making the steel. We've done everything. And I think someone who knows West Virginia probably is somebody that came from West Virginia. That's the difference.
Senator Manchin, thank you so much for your time today. Good luck on Election Day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.